I mean, I'm a large content creator. There are people who hate watch me. I also have. Oh wait, hold on. I'm getting some feedback from your end when I talk. Do you know what that might be?
I did it just start, or has it been going on?
No, it's been happening. It's like a sort of static and like a gain pitch kind of.
Did that fix it at all?
Let me see. Talking. Yeah. Okay. Wait. I think.
All right, everybody, so here we are. I am nocommentchick. We are here watching this. We're not going to be broadcasting this live, though, but I am here with my Discord live. They're getting to watch it live. If you're not already in the Discord, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? Join the Discord, then you can be here with us for events like this. It would be really bad of me to just, like stream snipe EJ. I'm not as concerned about stream sniping Vaush, but I'm not going to stream snipe EJ, so instead we're doing it like this. I'm recording, and if you're in the Discord chat, you can be part of that too. And if you're hearing this after the fact, well, you missed this one, but just get in that Discord, and you won't miss any others in the future. All right, let's go.
Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy. Can you hear? And I hope maybe now you can see me also.
Howdy.
I can see you. The video's not moving. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go. Say something. Your audio was a bit cutty
one.
at first, but I think it's fine now.
Is it working now? Check one.
Yeah, I think so.
I can boost it
Here,
a little
let
bit
me-
if it's low.
No, not quiet. There's just some noise coming in next to you, but it shouldn't be an issue. I don't think.
I think I know what that is. So okay, it won't.
It's the sound of Plant Ops. It's okay, EG.
actually, I've got the wrong
We're just
microphone on, so
recording
just
you.
let me
That's
mute for a
all.
second
Don't
and
worry.
switch mics if it
Don't-
Oh,
I don't want you to
go.
make it. I don't want it to
First
make you
comes out.
self-conscious.
First gotcha of the evening. Does this sound better?
Oh, that sounds so much
Oh
better.
my God, what is going on? What is even happening here?
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm just continuing to. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you for agreeing to talk to me. I want to set this up by saying there is overlap between our audiences, and
Just wanted to acknowledge that.
Some of the people.
I'm like, seriously, who are
watch
these
your
people
stream
who
and
watch
watch
both
mine,
streams? I don't know these people.
Have told me that I should reach out to you and talk to you, and they said you would be reasonable. I don't watch a ton of your content, so I'm taking their word for it. And
I did see somebody named Sewer Slut Fan though in EJ's chat, which maybe that's probably one of the people.
I want to talk to you in good faith.
Yeah, the one of three people who overlaps with the
there has
content.
been
It's got
what
somebody
some might
named Sewer
consider drama
Slut
or
Fan
beef going on
definitely
between
would
you,
be
me, and
fans
Luna
of both.
and some other people developing for some time. So I just want to address that and give you the opportunity.
That's the
to
overlap. Is the
respond
grind
to some questions and things like that.
is
So
the
does that all sound
break
like
core
what we
fans?
kind of agree to in the emails? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, my pleasure. No, this is a bit of a novelty for me. Normally, when people disagree with me, they sort of just take shots on Twitter.
Mhm.
I actually have a lot of respect for people who like hashing it out. Whatever my reputation might precede, I do actually enjoy just calmly talking about disagreements.
Mhm.
But yeah, hit me up. You sent me an email the other day, and some people in chat were complaining, like you put out a video shit talking me. But
Well, yeah,
in the
I mean-
email, to your credit, you did say, "Hey, I'm
Hey
gonna."
Vaush, to your credit, you did most of the shit talking of yourself for EJ. EJ didn't really have to add much to that. You were the one laughing about somebody's grandfather getting tortured.
Put this video out, so don't interpret this as some kind of like sneaky, So yeah, I don't think they have anything to complain about.
Yeah, and then also, people have differences about what's appropriate and what's not. One of the reasons I put the video out before the conversation was because I wanted to kind of formulate my thoughts and have some sort of basis to speak on. So I do want to try to get I want to give you an opportunity to respond to some of the things I said. I doubt you've had time to watch it because it was a very long video, and it's only been like maybe 11 hours since I uploaded it.
And your attention span isn't exactly like, world famous.
So-
Yeah.
No, I'm afraid I have not. I saw some people in my community reacting to it. Some liked it, some didn't. I'm known for having a disagreeable community, so I guess I'll see when I see.
Wait a minute. Let me just. Okay, so all right, so yeah, I think we're all on the same.
Oh, wait,
page about
you know
that
what I can
stuff. So
do?
the meta discussion, I guess, is out of the way. We
Let's
can
do
talk
this.
about the real issues.
A real deal.
Yeah, hit me up.
Okay, so there's three
HMU.
things, and I told you in the email. Like,
AJ,
three things I really wanted
HMU.
to kind of talk about, and the first thing is about, and I don't expect this to be a very long discussion. The first part, I wanted to just talk about the responsibility that we have as creators that have a large platform, right? So like, you and I both have pretty large platforms. I've got like over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. You have, I don't know, what are you up to now? You're pretty big.
You're big.
It's like 360, 370, somewhere there. I
Big
think.
You have
boy.
a ton of people watch your stream. I mean, that you have very impressive numbers in terms of watching your live
Oh
stream.
my
So,
god.
I think it's safe to say that we both
What's
have
gonna
pretty
happen?
substantial platforms. So I guess the first question I would ask is just in general, do you agree with me that when somebody has a large platform,
A slightly larger head.
it comes
There
with
we
a
go. That's more
certain
realistic, chat. Vaush has a slightly larger head than
Yes.
people
I
expect.
figured you'd agree with me on that.
Let me augment
and-
this
and
slightly.
Do you also agree that
Little
part of that
augmentation.
responsibility is
There and
trying
there. And
to
then little...
develop
Yeah,
an
that's
understanding of your
Vaush's
audience?
head.
And
There we
'cause, you know,
go.
Your audience is
We're
not
good.
a monolith. My audience is not a monolith. There are different kind of
My audience, however,
sort of
is a monolith,
divisions within
right?
every audience,
Audience.
right? So we kind of have to
Well,
get
right
to know your
now.
audience and understand.
Wait,
How
is
they
anybody
are,
trying to
the
get in? I
different
kind of
sections
like
of your audience are
announced
likely
this
to
at the last
react, and
second.
just kind of be familiar with your audience, right? And so, I mean, do you agree with that? I guess I'll ask first.
I don't know if it's a moral obligation, but it's definitely a good idea.
Okay, yeah. Well, here's why I think that I don't know about the word moral, but here's why I think it's important for people, especially doing political activity, you know, like discussing political topics and that sort of thing. I think it's important because obviously we influence our audiences, right? And if you were doing like unboxing streams or just like let's play videos or whatever, you know, I think that the degree of responsibility can vary. But when you're talking about political things, you're influencing people politically, and you also have to know that there will be like mutual impact. So like you might say things and then they'll go out and do things, and vice versa, right? So I guess that's the basis of my next question, which is you must realize that because you debate people on the far right quite a bit, and because of the nature of what you do with your debate streams and that sort of thing, that there are a large number of right-wing people who watch your show.
I don't know if there are a large number of right-wing people who watch my show. There probably is a good number of politically undifferentiated people, but at least in the communities that I've seen and cultivated, my YouTube comments, my Discord, my Reddit, whatever, I think the closest right bent I have is an annoying group of liberals who insist on watching me. Apart from that, I don't think I have many hard right followers.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not. I don't want to use any like loaded terms like audience or followers or community. I just think that it stands to reason that if you're regularly having discussions with people on the far right, there will be some overlap between your audiences. Some of them are going to come over and like hate watch you. You know, like I even get hate watchers on my channel, so I know there's an element of that.
I wonder if I get any hate watchers.
But, yeah,
Oh
I guess my
yeah.
point is,
Oh yeah.
If you know
Just
that
a
there are
few.
right wingers, even if it's in you know, law of large numbers, you have thousands of people that watch your stream. So even if it's like a small percentage of your audience, that's still going to mean there's like maybe hundreds of people, you know, that are fascist or racist watching. That's possible. I don't want to debate about the numbers or whatever, but I guess, okay, so I'm going to move on to the next point of my, I guess, my platform here.
Yeah, he's a little
And then I'll let
nervous.
you just totally respond to my point, because I'm almost done making my point.
Uh-huh.
So if you have, if it's true that there are any right wingers watching you, that's one thing. And then another way to know, I guess, a metric of whether you have right wingers or not is how people engage after you've done something, right? So like if I make a video, I'm going to try to gauge the outcomes. I'm going to try to watch what people are saying on social media about it. I'm going to go to Reddit and check that out. I'm going to check the comments on my channel or whatever. And so what I've noticed, and a lot of people have noticed, is a pattern where whenever you talk about somebody who is, shall we say, marginalized, you know, black or trans or person of color or what have you, that there's a tendency for those people to receive a lot of kind of like after effect collateral damage in terms of harassment, threats, and other kinds of like, you know, disturbing attacks like that. Now, I've seen it happen with Luna because I'm married to her. We spend all of our time together. I monitor, I help her administrate her comments and that sort of thing. And I also know other people who have shown me similar results, you know. So I guess my first question is, are you aware of that, or would you deny that that's something that happens?
I think I'd mostly deny it. You know, there's a whole narrative about my community harassing people, but in spite of nearly 3 years of trying to track down the people actually doing this, I've yet to be provided a single piece of evidence of it actually happening. Usually, the initial claim is some very severe, Vaush community, harassing, like really bad stuff, right? But then I get some screenshots, and it's usually people just being kind of mean, which I'm fine with. I don't have a problem with people being mean to people I don't like. Um, I guess it's possible that this happens. It's just not something that I've been provided substantive evidence of. If it can be provided, I'll ban those people from my community. But yeah,
So,
outside
I
of
guess,
that, I don't think it's
sorry, I thought you were finished.
I just
Go ahead.
don't think it's that much of an issue.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. I guess I'm not going to press it too much farther. I will say that, like, this is the kind of thing that it's kind of hard to litigate and substantiate, right? Because, like, so for instance, I can just tell you from my personal experience that, you know, since I literally look at Luna's comments every single day on her YouTube channel, I kind of get an idea. Like, she does get racist comments every day, you know, and you know that that's probably true. Just because any person of color, black person on the internet that's putting themselves out there and talking about politics is going to receive that kind of thing. So she does get those kinds of comments every day. But every time you've done a video where you talked about her, suddenly there's like a big uptick in the number of those kinds of racists and just terrible kinds of disturbing comments. And the only other time I've ever seen that happen, it's only happened twice before. And once was after we had the discussion with Destiny.
Yeah.
And once was after the armchair historian and her had a little bit of a back and forth. And it's never, ever happened again. Lots of other people have criticized Luna, but those are the only three examples. And so something tells me, it's just here, I guess let me put it this way. My instinct is there's something going on there. And if you think that matters, I would encourage you to take it seriously and investigate it more on your own and see if you can find out more, and just keep that in the back of your mind, I guess, as you move forward when you talk about people who are vulnerable. Now, Luna and I are in our 30s and we have each other and we're stable. And the reason I'm not trying to preach at you, but I know that you're aware that there are people out there who are more vulnerable. There are people who are younger. There are people who have mental instability and might be inclined towards self-harm and that sort of thing. So I guess I'm just saying, from one big content creator to the other, it's something that I do, is try to be careful about how I cultivate my audience. I try to identify the strengths and strengthen those, and I try to identify weaknesses and negate those as much as possible over time. So I'm not trying to preach at you, but that's something I wanted to make you aware of, that's something that I've seen happening personally with Luna's audience. So I guess I have nothing to say.
I saw that tweet from Luna where she screenshotted some groypers quote tweeting her and said that they were sort of insinuated that was a product of her mentioning or talking with me. I mean, I'm a large content creator. There are people who hate watch me. I also have oh wait, hold on. I'm getting some feedback from your end when I talk. Do you know what that might be?
Did it just start, or has it been going on?
No, it's been happening. It's like a sort of static and like a gain pitch kind of.
Did that fix it at all?
Let me see. Talk. Yeah. Okay. Wait. I think that
Audio's hard.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about
Thank you. Yeah. I saw those screenshots. Oh, people are saying my voice is too loud in your stream. I don't know if that.
I probably just fixed both problems simultaneously, I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, obviously, as a product of my size, beefing with me is going to cause a lot of engagement, and there might be negative consequences to that for like marginalized people, because I'm broadly known on the right. I don't know if there's a way to directly attribute that to me. I know they're not my audience. I don't think I have a substantial groyper audience in my beck and call. I just don't know if there's anything I can really do about that. Because at that point, it's not even about my community. It's just about the size of my channel and exposure given to people that I disagree with. And we're working off tenuous connections as well. I mean, it could very well be that even if I was perfectly responsible with all my engagement, merely the act of being,
you've got to say that his characterization of Professor Flowers had something to do with her harassment. He didn't present her as being wrong or misguided or naive.
I don't have a direct control.
He presented her as being straight up evil.
Indirect control. The only solution would be, I think, to just not ever
Shocking
engage
that
with
he's painting
positively
himself
or
in the most
negatively
generous light
any
here.
other figures
Yeah.
who
I mean, that's how the
are
parasocial hero, you
marginalized,
know,
which probably wouldn't be good. That doesn't seem
main
like it's a
character
safe
syndrome works.
solution.
Yeah,
Anybody who
exactly.
stands up
Well,
to
okay,
the
there are a
daddy
few
is
things there,
the
I guess I'll
villain,
push back
the
a little
villain of
bit.
the
The
week,
first one would
even.
be, you know, every time there's some things you can do. Every time I talk about somebody who I disagree with, who could be receiving that kind of, you know, hate, like, I'm very careful to tell my audience, like, do not harass this person, blah blah blah. That will help with your actual audience, your community, the people that you actually like, enjoy. But then also, you just, I don't know, I think you could be more selective about some of the things that you say about certain people, because there have been instances, like with, for instance, when you talked about Luna, I don't think that calling her a useless stepchild of Vietnam, I think that might fan the flames of like racial problems. I'm not saying that you were intentionally being racist. That's not the point there. But I think
EJ
that
is just too
having that
nice
kind of super
engaging with
vitriolic
Vaush.
statement could perhaps fan the flames. I think maybe when talking about people in
They
marginalized
also,
positions,
like,
you could perhaps
when
just
you come at them hard
stick
in a
to the
video
facts
and then
to
you're
the
nicer
ideas
to them
more
in
instead
person,
of bringing up the personal vitriolic
they
remarks like that, calling them stupid, calling, you know, using
they
ableist
take that
slurs
as
and
being
that sort of thing.
dishonest
I think that
somehow.
might be one way you could kind of control some of that. You know, do you like completely
They'll like look down at
disown
you
and denounce the people
for
who have
that
made
stuff.
racial comments about Luna since
I mean, he
you
just
made
said there was
your
no
stream about her?
harassment, but
Oh, anyone
we
who
saw
makes
in the
racist
video he
comments
was
towards
openly
Luna is either
mocking
not a part of my community, or if they are, should be
Trump
Oh
removed from
yeah.
it. I'm not a
and going
racist, and
off
I
on
don't
it with
tolerate
his
racism on any
chat.
of my
That's
platforms.
harassment.
If it really is like hate followers who are watching or simply responding to an increase in visibility, though, nothing I say will change anything. I mean, I could have a positive interaction. In fact, I know this because I have had positive engagements with people, marginalized people, either race, gender, sexuality, who then got harassment after talking with me, not just from the rest of the left for deigning to talk with me, of course, but just as a product of
It's
being
all a
made visible, you know.
coincidence.
So if that is the group responsible predominantly for the real vitriol, I don't think there's anything I could do other than be silent. In terms of like harassment from my community, like the tone that I set, I'm okay with it. I'm generally quite mean to conservatives or people that I don't like. I think that's okay. I think that the vitriol is sort of an essential
Well, okay, you don't think
component.
that when you said that Luna's a useless stepchild of Vietnam, that could, even if you didn't intend for it to have racial undertones, right? Because intention here doesn't matter. I think you'd agree with me. It's the outcomes that matter. You don't think that that's the kind of thing that can stoke racially charged responses from people or encourage?
Sure, but you can get that from criticizing China too, right? Like I hate China, but if you talk about that long enough, folks who are actually racist are going
You
to
can
catch
talk
on.
about how you
There's
hate
only so
China
much you can
without
do about
calling
that.
somebody a useless stepchild of China, for instance. You know, I mean, like that's a
Well,
weird
if they
thing
were
to say about someone.
if they were a Chinese if they
Like,
were a
what does that even
Chinese
mean? A useless
nationalist,
stepchild of Vietnam? I don't really understand what you were trying to say there.
oh, I don't know. Threw out probably like 100 or 200 insults. I don't even remember the one you're saying
Okay,
right
so yeah,
now.
the fact
I'm
that you
sure
don't
in
remember
context
what
it
you
was very
said
funny.
tells me you weren't being too careful when you talked.
Here we go.
Her as an individual, like
Here we
maybe you
go.
forgot a little
Well, I
bit
can't
that she's a
remember
person,
every
is what I'm
I
afraid
can't
of.
remember every insult I deliver over a whole stream. I mean, that's hours every day I'd have
That's
to
a lot
do.
of
I don't have the
insults that
Yeah,
I would
so I
have
don't know.
to
I think you could
be more
careful. I
intentional
think you
about
could
and
with how
actually
you talk about
notice them coming
So
out of my mouth. I mean,
what
that's
you
I
said
think
there.
That's
this
wild.
is going nowhere. So, do you have any
You
thoughts
have
Well, I
to
on
just
be
want
to
to
say
say
something
what
like
you
that
said
and
there,
not
that doesn't
realize you're
cross
the
my
asshole.
threshold for irresponsible treatment. I mean, obviously, and I'm not. This isn't an effort to poison the well. Obviously, you have a closer
There are too many
relationship with
people
Luna
for
than
me to
I
keep
do.
track.
That's
I do
kind of an
recognize that she's a
understatement, I think.
person. Yeah, that's part of being,
Yeah, right. Well, we're gonna have different perspectives
Like,
on an
oh my
acceptable
God.
level
I feel like I need to
vitriol
be there to
towards people that you
translate.
don't like. I
Like,
guess the thing that always weirds
Vaush,
me
he's
out a
saying
little
that
bit
you get kind of
is I'm very mean to conservatives
inhuman
on my
when you're
channel. Nobody
content
seems to mind
brained.
that much. But then when there are people on the left who have ideas that I think are just as pernicious, you know, all of a sudden, people, you know, they get very up in arms about it. I don't understand the double standard personally.
I can't
I
speak
think
to
that
that
it's.
because I don't have enough insight into or optics into that. So I
But do
just
you
know
think
that,
it's okay if I was? I'm just asking because
yeah.
I just want to know if it's a broad opposition or if there's kind of like a specific favoritism here. If I was doing a video on like, I don't know, Ben Shapiro, and I was just throwing them out there, all the insults, nothing anti-Semitic or whatever, but
Oh my
just
God.
insults. Do you think
Well, I
there's
mean,
an
like,
issue with that vitriol,
thank you
or
for-
do you think
He
that's
clarified that.
I mean,
fine
yeah.
It's motivated
thing to
by
do?
things like race.
Do you have to tell your
or
audience
being
that? By the
trans
way,
or
I'm not going to go
whatever, then of course
anti-Semitic
there's a
this
problem.
time,
Even
but
if, like, for instance, like, like
I mean,
if
Vaush,
there's,
it sounds
if
almost
you're
like you
debating a
support.
conservative who was gay, and then you made some kind of comment that could be construed as referencing their sexuality. I'm not saying
Don't
you
get
did
drawn
that,
into
I'm not
hypotheticals,
speaking that
EJ.
correctly.
Don't let him do that to
And
you.
then
That's how he
person
gets
got
you.
harassed for being gay, even if they're conservative. I certainly wouldn't say that that's acceptable. You know what I'm saying?
Talk about the issue at hand and try to get him to stick to that. That's your.
A person who did that would have to take responsibility for the role that they played in that. And I think that when you're throwing
hold
out
on.
insults, you need to be thinking about the potential ripple effects that the words you use can have when you're talking to thousands of people.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the ripple effect is, I suppose I dislike her, and I'm okay with people in my audience disliking her. But if the racial comments, like the racism,
Okay.
is really coming from like
We're
the
kinda
quote, "hate followers," I
disconnected.
just don't think there's a relationship between the language that I use, this language at least, which is, I don't think, racialized, and the outcomes. Hold on, somebody linked the stepchild thing. I just want to hear it. It's 6 seconds. 1 second.
Yeah, the modern Vietnamese government has produced little fucking off stepchild bastard children like Luna Oi here. Yeah, the modern Vietnamese government has produced.
Oh yeah, it's a comment on Vietnamese education producing like nationalist defenders. Yeah, so that would be like the stepchild comment.
What is the stepchild connection there? You know that
Well,
she's 5
like,
years older than you. I mean, I don't understand why you keep calling her a child, and it seems kind of like overly demeaning. I don't know what basis you have for that.
I'm okay with being demeaning.
Okay.
With the stepchild thing, when I think of like, it was like the redheaded stepchild kind of thing, like the idea that like like a bunch of like sort of children running around, it's like 20 of them, and you can remember the names of 16 or so. I think it's a salient critique of the way governments will sort of indoctrinate.
Could you not have made that point? Knowing what you know, and knowing and conscious of the way that certain people that watch your show. Could you just not have made that point with a little bit less personal vitriol? I guess I just don't understand I don't understand. Like, I talk about people all the time that I don't like, but I don't make weird comments about them like that could be construed.
I'm okay with the vitriol. Also, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Luna's been quite vitriolic to me for a while.
Luna doesn't talk about you for months on end until you decide to do another stream about her. That's something I can tell you for sure.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
She doesn't
not
just
to say
go
it's
around
not
talking
mutual.
about you all the time. It's always in self-defense. I mean, I have to say
That's what these debate roasts don't get. It's like
I've been very keyed in on that.
It's.
Time
I
he
think there was at least
feuded,
one time she said
he
something.
just
but
says, "Oh yeah,
doesn't-
all
I'm
right,
not-
whatever."
This isn't like a
And
who
moves on.
started it type thing. I'm just saying that I think the vitriol.
It's
certainly is
infuriating.
mutual. I don't see an issue with being vitriolic. It's fine. If anything, I'm working on maybe trying to be a little more vitriolic. I feel like the left online gives way too much of a pass to certain types of ideas. Some
Why
types
do you
of
think that is
nationalism.
beneficial? I mean, what do you think that what end does that serve? I don't get it.
No,
I don't understand how
if
calling
an
somebody a
adult to
useless
act.
stepchild of Vietnam serves any purpose.
Well, it was part of a broader like bit on the nationalism thing, but anti-nationalism is a
I don't get the
strong
connection. Like, if you said,
component.
Yeah,
Luna's
I actually don't
Luna's
understand
a
what
rabid
point. What was he
nationalist
even
or
trying to
something,
say?
like that would have a connection to what you're saying.
Like,
I don't understand.
I get that like redheaded stepchild is like supposed to be like you beat them like a redheaded stepchild, right? That's the phrase, and the idea is that like it's a child that you don't care about that much. So are you just saying you don't care about her that much? Is that what your point is? Or like, yeah, why do you make her a child in the metaphor? Like, right? It's weird. It's weird.
I don't understand it.
It almost seems like one of those things that you just like kind of threw in because it's like a catchphrase or it's a word or it's like you're just like looking for something. Or redheaded stepchild. There we go. Well, I mean, she's not redheaded, so I'll just call her stepchild of Vietnam.
I don't see this. I don't feel this
Insert
conversation is going anywhere.
comedic
I don't
reference.
think that you're.
Yeah, the
I don't think
reference
I don't think
itself
you get
is
it,
the
so
comedy.
I don't know.
Well, I
It's one of
understand what
those,
you're saying. You're saying
you know,
it's
Family Guy.
mean. I just
Family
don't
Guy
mind
style
being
humor.
It's not a matter of being mean, and
Well,
I'm
I'm
using the
fine with
personal
it.
situation of Luna because I'm familiar with that. But there have been
Plus, it's also
a number of
incredibly
people have come
sexist too.
forward and said that
She's a woman,
after
probably
you
10
talked
years older
about
than
them
him,
on stream,
and
they got a
referring
lot
to
of
her
hate.
as a
And
child.
I'm just saying that if that were me and that were my audience and that were my platform, and somebody was saying that, I would take it very seriously and I would work very hard to do everything I could to
I have.
decrease that as much as possible. No, you're saying that you want to go forward and be more vitriolic towards. I mean, we're talking about people of color, transphobic people, or trans people, gay people, or whatever. You're saying you want to be more vitriolic to people who you disagree with, who are marginalized, not less vitriolic.
I think
so.
The main thing is that I do take it seriously, and having taken it seriously, I've only found evidence to take it less seriously. Because this has happened before, this basic pattern, and I always have it investigated. I have mods. I have a
pattern of behavior.
I have a crack team,
Mm-hmm.
and this always gets looked into. I can never find evidence of real harassment. Either it's just people being mean to them, which again, I'm totally okay
This
with.
is a destiny. This is like
I don't know. What
are you sure you got a death threat? Let me see that. Let me see that death threat. Oh my god, there's a pixel out of place. Holy shit, my dude. You faked a death threat.
I don't have this problem. I don't have to go out launching investigations with like a crack mod NSA team to go do.
You need a clan ops.
Because I'm not constantly.
All of you creators out there, you need to get a clan ops. Okay, get a clan ops.
Over race and
get these
gender and sexuality
computers.
But that's what I'm hearing people say about your
Evidence
so
this
what's
person
I don't
posting
know what the difference
Vaush
between
means
my
is a Vaush fan?
platform and yours,
Wait, hold on.
What are you
Somebody just
talking
linked a
about?
tweet where Luna is essentially calling me a pedophile. I think I'm okay with the meme. I usually try to proportionate.
Well, you see, the difference is that there's actual
Do
evidence
you
for
want to read the
that.
tweet and tell me exactly what it says? Because I don't think she.
Vaush gets kicked off of platforms for saying.
Do not pass
go.
go.
For saying pedophilia.
Go
can
straight
be good
to
for children.
Coconut
Which is an
Island.
exact quote.
Oh no!
That you said.
No.
Oh no!
It's not.
You play the video that it's linked to. Tell me that it's not a direct quote.
The video cuts me off mid-sentence.
I didn't say it cut you off. You did say that
between.
though. She referenced something you actually said. You could defend yourself and say that that was taken out of context or whatever, but she didn't call you a pedophile, and she was referencing something you actually said, which is a different situation than being vitriolic towards people for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Do you think that signal boosting misinformation with the intent of sort of painting a person as a pedophile isn't like, it's interesting that you would take issue with saying a person's a stepchild of the
sensitive
that they're from
about this particular topic.
The idea of like signal boosting disingenuous far right pedo jacketing that was literally cut off mid sentence isn't itself bad faith or disingenuous. Like, that's really weird to me. I don't understand.
I mean, didn't Vaush signal boost some bad faith shit from aristocracy? Far right? Yes, check.
For one thing, that is true. But also,
didn't you say that Bad Infinata supports the?
She wasn't just talking about you. She was talking about the way platforms work. I think that you would agree that getting
holotropic deck on Star Trek.
Right? Do you agree with that? So there's like
I would
wider
agree
commentary
that
going on.
Calling me a pedophile is being vitriolic.
Nobody called you a pedophile.
I don't think there's any
she didn't call you a
around
pedophile.
that.
She didn't call you a pedophile.
Non-compete.
She didn't.
Come on.
She said that she thinks that what you said in that clip is worse than saying cracker.
Trap.
I mean, if you cut together a bunch of words spliced from different streams and arranged them in a way to implicate me, and then looked at that and said, look at that, that's interesting. That wouldn't technically be calling me.
I don't know what to say. I can just tell you that there's a difference between
hidden tree died by the hidden tree
said in a specific context when you're commenting on a platform versus calling somebody
not
a useless stepchild of Vietnam,
though.
Which is really just an insult based on the fact that she's Vietnamese. That's the only tangible piece of evidence about her identity that you addressed, or even you didn't address her positions. You addressed like you didn't call her a nationalist. You called her a stepchild of Vietnam. It's
in a
motivated by the fact that she's Vietnamese.
So hold on.
Or
this would be a lot easier for you if you didn't form your opinions based exclusively off the Twitter clips. In the whole video,
I don't have an opinion about whether or not you're a pedophile.
You can
Vaush.
find.
We're not trying to talk about that. We're not trying to litigate whether or not you're a pedophile, Vaush. This isn't what this is about. That's not what we're here for. You're the one talking about that.
To call me one, because
we're gonna
are bottom feeding scum, and I really like
the
idea that you would complain. Hold on. The idea that people would complain about vitriol. I mean, not even about like the arguments used, right? But like in terms of vitriol. And what? Because I made
Look,
a joke about her being a nationalist.
I don't
is stepchild
see any
like a
evidence
slur now?
that he's that either,
this comes
right?
from
Of
me.
Vietnam, you did
I don't
mention
get
her
it.
nationality.
But you are literally platforming that on your own fucking stream right now, Vaush.
Which is, I don't know
Who
her
cares?
ethnicity.
Yeah, I think she's a Vietnamese nationalist. Yes, stepchild of Vietnamese propagandizing education. Sure, yeah, it's fine. I don't even think that's
Is a step? You shouldn't say a cult member or a
We're
sycophant
really
or a
so
Well, it's treatment.
I have nothing else to say
underling
about this.
somehow
Do you have anything else to say?
serving a larger agenda. Why
I
stepchild?
think that
No, I suppose not.
Okay. Do you want to talk about anything? I have a few other questions I could ask.
Yeah, well, there were
Please,
3
The
topics
1950s
that
daddish.
you mentioned. Hold on, I didn't have the email up.
So he's probably sweating a little
you
bit.
said the first one was on
He's
targeting
perspiring.
marginalized people. And the second one
Maybe I'll
was
cut his
the
video in
perceived
with
lack
this,
of understanding
so we can see
of
that.
Luna's video and
It
of
might be nice.
dialectical
I'm just
materialism.
saying.
And then the third one was the dishonest.
Yeah, you don't go off top of
methods
that
used
part
against
and like
others.
not be
And I'm
sweating.
happy to talk about either or both.
At least
if
he
you'd like.
realized.
Okay. So I think that
Oh my god,
in your
chat.
video, so specifically just focusing on the stream you had about Luna. Now because you said that, people that don't address your opinions, blah, your actual positions. I feel like you spent 2 hours, you call people that who don't address your actual positions bottom feeding scum. You spent 2 hours
And call me pedophiles. That's
okay,
the
well,
part that
categorically
bothers me.
Luna did not call you
Okay,
a
he's going
pedophile.
back.
She said
I'm afraid he's gonna have a tomfoolery moment here and just start yelling, "I'm not a
situation where an adult can have a child.
She said
a
I
sexual
was
relationship
a
with a child, and it has a positive outcome. So we do
If
agree
you
He's
had
disagree.
given
actually
a
seen the full
masterclass
bit
in how
that
to
was
deal
I
with
saw the
posted,
full
someone
bit.
like Vaush.
you would agree. You saw the full bit, not just the Twitter
And he's
bit,
gonna break
but
very
the full
soon.
thing.
Yeah, your
in which I was
logical
constructing a
foundation
rule
was that there
utility.
can be some situations where an adult and a child can have a positive outcomes. You didn't say. Anyway,
We're still
it's
talking
totally
about this.
immaterial to what we're talking.
Just well,
Oh,
no,
you need
it's
some
it's important. So, in a consequentialist sense, you can easily construct a situation where essentially anything is fine. I'll ask you. Just follow through
No,
with
I
you 30
don't.
seconds.
I'm
then we'll be
not an
done.
idealist. I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals that don't have any bearing on material reality.
That is, wait,
Oh,
hold
he
on.
didn't fall for
I'm
it.
not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals with you, Vaush.
First
And
of
I'm not
all,
going to talk about hypothetical
not talking-
situations where adults can
Wait.
molest children.
Oh
and
my
have a
God,
positive
no!
outcome. Not something I'm going to talk
You're
about.
the one talk. Wait, hold on. Hold
Get
on.
him.
First of all,
I don't
Marx
know
was
why
a
you want to talk about
philosopher.
this.
It's not
weird that you want to
idealism.
talk about this.
Wait, no, hold on. Wait, you can't move away from this. Okay, hold on. I'm not
I'm
letting
not
you paint
moving.
me like
I
this and then
can't
run
move
the
away
fuck
from
away.
a discussion
Wait,
about
hold on.
hypothetical
Wait,
situations.
you have to stop talking for 1 second.
Oh
okay?
my god.
Hold on. So imagine, all right? Imagine aliens come
Oh,
down
God.
to Earth.
This is
and they
absolutely
say-
ridiculous, Vaush.
What?
You've blasted
Imagine
6
The
seconds.
hell?
This is as
okay?
hypothetical idealism as you can get. You're literally off.
You're
You
like a
literally left planet
honeymoon
Earth,
virgin.
Vaush.
You gotta last longer than 6 seconds. Just give me a second, okay? Did I not let you talk
Ew.
for a long time when you were establishing your premises?
I'm not going to talk
Come
about
on.
hypotheticals with you. It's not something
You
that
don't
we
have
agreed
to.
to talk
You don't.
about.
Then
I
you
said
don't
that I'm
have
going
to
to talk
talk.
about
You
3
just
things with
have
you.
to listen. You just have to listen, okay?
Let
Now,
Vaush
you
talk
can
about his
imagine a
pedophilia
situation
charges. Yeah, just
in which aliens come down to Earth and they say, "We're gonna blow up the whole planet unless you kill this innocent kid." Now, in a consequentialist sense, killing that innocent, right? I know, right? So follow through.
This is
So in a
everything-
consequentialist,
Okay.
in a consequential, I know an inability to grasp philosophy is one of my biggest issues. with
It's
Luna. It makes sense that
idealism.
it would apply to both of you.
It's idealism.
That's not what this philosophy and idealism aren't the same thing. Those don't mean the same
No,
thing.
you're
Wikipedia them.
basing you're constructing hypothetical situations that have no bearing in reality whatsoever.
Hypotheticals aren't. Wait, do you think an idealism is when you construct a hypothetical? Do you think those mean the same
Michael
thing? You're going to
Jackson.
lecture me
There's
on
no
dialectical
point in
materialism.
having this discussion. Is my point.
Can you answer that question? Do you think idealism means when you construct a hypothetical?
If you construct a
Have you read
hypothetical
Capital?
that
It's
has
full of
nothing to do
hypotheticals.
with reality, and you think that gets you closer to the truth, that is idealism, because you are making the ideal conscious processes of thought your basis for truth. And if I am a
Idealism is not
materialist, and
when you-
my basis for finding truth
I see
is the material
I see
world
the
that we
issue.
live in.
You think idealism is when you think, which is why you don't.
No.
Listen, if you read
Oh,
God,
read
he's
Das
trying to put words in
Kapital,
his mouth now.
you'll actually find hypotheticals. They're actually kind of ubiquitous.
oh my
Look,
god.
They're
anyway,
grounded in
in
reality,
that
though. They're grounded in actual things that happen. Like he'll
So
find
just
statistics
let's finish
and
the
other
point. We can
basic-
move on if you let me talk for 10
Vaush is going to
seconds,
get talking
okay?
about the Drake
So in
equation.
that
Aliens could
situation, you
happen.
could
Have you
argue
ever seen the Drake
consequentially
equation?
that the outcomes would be good to murder that innocent child because the Earth doesn't get blown up. Then, because the
Oh my
Twitter bit
God,
cuts me
this is
off
like a Jack
literally
Bauer
mid-sentence,
hypothetical.
you follow on from that point to talk about how a rule utilitarian could have a categorical opposition to the murder of children in spite of that.
We
The
have to
whole
torture
argument
those
was one
aliens as
against
soon
the
as possible.
predation of children, but far-right people like to put it
Basically.
out of context because it's easier than debunking me. That's
Okay.
it. That was it.
All right. That is idealism, though. Okay.
That's not what idealism means.
It is when you think that you can find any truth that brings you like when if you use a hypothetical that's grounded in reality,
Vaush is thinking of idealism
that's-
like
then that can
That's
be
not.
productive.
This isn't what idealism means. This
Like-
isn't,
like
it's not. You don't know what that
utopianism. That's what Vaush
Well,
is
what do you think
thinking that
idealism
idealism is
So do you
utopianism.
mean idealism like in relationship to materialism?
That's
in a
not what-
dialectical sense,
it's
like dialectical
in a
idealism,
Marxist
like
sense.
dialectical
That's
materialism.
different-
Because the Hegelian
That would-
concept has nothing
Or
to do
the
with the construction of
philosophical.
hypotheticals.
Like
Yeah.
from
But it
Hegel.
But it does. But
To
no, it does,
naivete
it
or
does. So
something,
yes,
yeah.
it does.
Right,
because
right.
Idealism is the position that the basis for finding truth, and this actually does move towards what I wanted to talk to you about. So I'm fine with talking about this now, because I do think you misunderstand the difference between materialism and idealism, and I think you don't
Vaush,
understand.
you
the
just made a
relationship
clip.
between Hegel and Marx and Engels, and I don't think that you.
I never asked you
understand the
for
difference
that, but you
between
gave it to me
historical materialism
anyway.
And dialectical materialism. So these are all things I did want to ask you about. So
Thank you, comrade.
Hegel's whole dialectic, and the problem that Marx and Engels had with Hegel was that he sought truth on the basis of the ideal and consciousness. Okay? Marx and Engels broke with that, and they thought that the material world and objective sense data, empirical sense data, is the primary basis for truth. But they were not empiricists. They were not positivists, meaning they didn't think you could only find truth in sense data, in empirical data. Okay? Do you agree with all of those things I just said, or do you know those things?
No, I don't think that's correct. I think that's simplified in some respects and incorrect in others.
All right. Well, just tell me what you think idealism is, Vaush.
The dialectical disagreement. So first of all, idealism is a philosophical tradition dating back millennia. What you refer to as ideal, like I don't know, there are like 20 different kinds of idealism depending on where you're pulling from. The juxtaposition usually posed against what Marx wrote.
Now,
was
there's
Hegelian
different types of idealism?
dialectical idealism,
Okay.
which was the idea that social advancements, that ideas that human civilization was moved forward as a product of the antagonisms which arise in people's thoughts,
Right.
as they have competing values and virtues which fight against each other, and you achieve synthesis, which is ideally an advancement of the idea, right?
Okay,
of
yes.
the concept.
Can I
And
stop you for
Marx
one
is-
moment? Can I stop you
Sure.
for one moment? Okay. So an example of that,
God,
I think,
he's reading the
is one of the big
Wikipedia
problems
entry,
we have
isn't
on
he?
the left today, and a problem that I've seen you have in your discussions is that we have these hypothetical discussions about what we should do or shouldn't do, or after the revolution, will this happen or will this exist, and blah blah blah, and we construct hypothetical scenarios about the future, and then we think that that's what we should base all of our praxis and activism on. So in other words, we come up with the ideas first, which Engels described as utopianism, Marx and Engels described as utopianism, and then we think like, okay, we've got this perfect vision for where we want to be. Now we have to get from here to there, and we have to dogmatically stay that course. That would be, would you agree that that's an idealist basis for moving a movement forward, a political movement?
I think it's utopian, but I don't think it's a dialectically idealist concept. I think you could frame that belief system through dialectical materialism just fine.
You could frame that system through dialectical materialism, frame a utopian system, or what do you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
Dialectical materialism is only a mode of analysis. It's a theory to explain the movement, the evolution of human behavior, a society, social developments. You know, you could apply it to anything. You can analyze any system, any society through the lens of dialectical materialism. It doesn't have to be. There isn't like there isn't like a dialectically materialist way of doing a thing. You know, outside the process of analysis, you can't like make a civilization and go like, this time we'll do it
Right,
dialectically,
but the point is
materially.
that you're putting the cart before the horse if you say this would be a perfect society, and you know, a priori. You will find out through praxis what works and what doesn't. That was a big important thing that Marx and Engels pointed out, was that you can only find truth through practice and praxis.
I'm not a utopian. I agree that it is dumb to conceptualize an ideal society.
Okay, so when you
and then
conceptualize
to-
things with aliens and things that don't happen on planet Earth, that's a useless rhetorical strategy in terms
Oh
of
my
actually
God,
finding
this
truth.
is what you were
He
running
concedes
back
a
to?
point,
No,
and then he
okay.
just ignores it with his next
So-
sentence.
No. Let me explain. And please listen. This can be instructive, okay?
Okay.
There is
No.
a massive difference between framing your pragmatic advocacy for a political system based on a utopian vision of a future that you don't have material conditions to account for, and the construction of a hypothetical to illustrate the dynamics of a moral system. If you read Capital, I
moral
promise
system.
you,
Boom.
you will
That's a
find
metaphysical
hypotheticals
concept.
that are very outlandish.
Hold on. Your whole thing, you believe that you can construct a moral system where you can, beforehand, before
I
material,
didn't construct it. It's just rule utilitarianism.
you can't, the material conditions determine what is morally acceptable and what's not. When the French resistance were blowing up
What?
Nazis, that was okay because the material conditions they were in, right? Do you agree with
Wha-
that? But it's not always okay to just go blow
What?
people up. Like there are certain material
No,
conditions
those
where it's
are
acceptable and somewhere it's not.
those have nothing to do with each other. No, I'm not a moral relativist. Wait, do you think slavery was moral because back then people thought it was moral?
That's exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying that
The
it was
material
justified
conditions
for
of
slaves.
16th century agriculture demanded the existence of slavery. Do you think that's moral then? Like
That's
what-
my point. Is that it?
The-
Has, that I don't. I believe my morality stems from dialectical. Like, so let me put it this way: material conditions.
dialectical materialism isn't a moral system. It's just an analysis of history.
They're okay.
Those aren't.
Why do you think?
These are the people
So
who
no, no, no,
criticize
no.
my philosophy. man.
Here's where you're wrong, because you are conflating empiricism and positivism and determinism with dialectical materialism. But one of the
No, that's what
important things
Luna was
that Marx
doing.
and Engels pointed out, Vaush, is that through conscious activity, we can impact the material world and we can make changes. And so, for instance, people can liberate themselves by developing mass movements, but they have to develop them with an understanding of the material
Crazy,
processes of
right? He did
reality.
just argue
If you try to
agriculture
develop- so for
requires
instance,
slavery.
Of course.
Oh,
all
100%. He
people
did just do
want more, right?
that.
But like, if you have false consciousness and
What?
you don't have a firm grasp on how material processes work and how the world
He was trying to put
actually
words into his
develops and how things can
EJ's
develop
mouth,
and how
basically.
applying your consciousness
They didn't fall for
to
it.
material conditions will develop reality. If you don't have that, then you will fail and fail and fail again. That's why Engels and Marx wrote Socialism, Utopian, and Scientific, because they wanted to stop they were organizers, they were activists, they were actually going out, they were members of groups, they were doing things, and they had praxis, and they were so tired of having hypothetical conversations with people, their contemporary fellow activists.
There's a difference between opposition to constructing a hypothetical entirely and opposition to the idea of basing one's entire political advocacy off of hypotheticals and nothing else. But that's because pragmatic advocacy for a political system and ethical systems are two different things. Hypotheticals are the only things that you can really use to construct a normative ethical system, because you have to isolate.
Where are you getting this?
First
Where
of
are you
all,
getting this information from? Or is this something you just came up with, or what is this? What are you talking about?
Okay, if you're constructing an ethical system, like or I guess learning to understand
what's an ethical
So
system?
the
What's a moral system?
question.
Oh my
a normative
god.
process by which you determine whether an action or a person is good or bad. In my case, an action, because I'm not an virtue ethicist.
Okay. And do you think that you can make one moral system that applies in all conditions, or like, what are you talking about? I don't really understand.
Yeah, the goal would be to construct a normative ethical system that's universally applicable.
That's
It is
idealism.
a constant subject of debate in philosophy.
That's idealism.
That
Marx
is
and Engels
not
would say that the
idealism.
material conditions determine
no,
what
that's
is
not what
morally
idealism
acceptable.
means.
It is, because you're saying that you can hypothetically construct. You're saying that, like, if you sat down and thought hard enough, you had a big enough piece of paper and you wrote down enough if-then Boolean logic statements, you could construct exactly what is morally correct in any given situation in your mind.
Well, the difficulty usually isn't whether something is good or bad. It's whether or not we can assemble all the necessary information to determine whether or not it's good or bad.
The only way to do that is through
Like,
practice. and practice.
hypotheticals are
That's
the
what
easy,
that's what
isolating
Marx and Engels. That was their big breakthrough. That's what made them. They synthesized empiricism and positivism of people like Hume and Ricardo and Smith.
Did you make
and the idealism of Hegel. And
thumbnail
they realized that there's
Where
actually
I'm
this
looking at
dialectical
Vaush and I'm
relationship
saying, what the
between
fuck is he
material
thinking?
reality, material conditions, and human
Do I
consciousness.
remember that
But
happening?
that the only way to
That's not a matter of ethics. If we're talking about ethics, you need hypotheticals because they allow you to isolate conditions that you can use to determine the frameworks of your system. If you're only using practical examples for an ethical consideration, then you're post-hocking everything that happens. You're like, well, was that train crash bad? And you're like, well, I don't have a system for this, and you're like working through it.
God, I'm getting
Yeah,
distracted by
dialectical
thumbnails.
materialism is just like this. Dialectical materialism is a system devised to allow us to analyze the world and to provide us a framework for understanding.
Marx
That's what
and Engels, Socialism, Utopian and Scientific, wrote, the final causes of all social changes and political revolutions are to be sought not in men's brains, but in men's better insights into eternal truth and justice, not in men's better insights into eternal truth and justice, but in changes in the modes of production and exchange. They very specifically said that we can't just sit around and think about what's best. We have to go out and apply things in the material world to find out what works and what doesn't.
That has nothing to do with okay. You realize that Marx had a doctorate, right? Like clearly, sitting and thinking is part of the process. I think it's okay to sit down and read out a few hypotheticals to learn an ethical system. Like would you
Oh
like
my
say this to some kid in
God.
kindergarten? Like, action is what we need. Like yes, it's okay to do hypotheticals. It's okay to learn ethical systems. And by the way, rural utilitarianism is really applicable with
So
socialism.
sad.
It is incredibly naturally, almost intuitively, in line with the moral assertions a person might make to argue in favor of
Marx
socialism.
and Engels did not just sit around thinking, okay, like in their brains. First of all,
we're not talking
active.
about just sitting
Second
around.
of all,
wait, are you against the concept of philosophy?
You have to base.
He's gonna use that thinking in their brains thing against DJ.
Data.
He's gonna clip
and there are
that.
two sources of objective data. They're
gonna like make that into like a big joke.
Objective social relations. That's the way Marx and Engels put it anyway.
I think that's fine.
Okay,
we got more than enough
let me
from
test
Vaush
your
this time
intuitive
around.
system then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Let's hit then. Is it wrong to hit a person?
It absolutely depends on the material conditions and the situation and the objective social relations at play. There's no universal answer to that question.
Social relations. Okay, I agree.
Do you not know
so
what an objective social relation is? Do I need to define that term?
Circumstances matter. Yeah. Okay. So I agree with that. So let's say, okay, let's use an example where all of the cases are known. You said that I was too vitriolic to Luna. Why is that bad?
I said
because
that
being
you
mean
need
is
to
bad.
Look at the evidence that is being presented to you and consider whether you think it's bad or not. I'm asking you to apply this kind of analysis to your own platform.
Well, I've done that, but you clearly think it was bad because otherwise you wouldn't take issue with it enough to talk to me
I think
about
it's
it.
bad
You
because
think
because I saw evidence, which is that after you talked about her, not just once, but every time you've done a stream about her, I saw a huge uptick in people throwing racist, vitriolic shit at her that she doesn't usually receive on that scale. That's the evidence I presented to you.
Did he seriously just say why is that bad to racist shit?
Excuse me?
Why is that bad?
I mean,
he's trying to be like illustrate the point of like what
result of actions that you performed.
Do you think that humans suffer and we shot Nazis?
I don't think that Luna. If you think that Luna deserves to suffer, do you think Luna deserves to suffer? Is that?
I mean, he's doing
by racists. Is that what you're saying?
You're the one who said that it was bad because a person suffered. So logically, I extend from that. You
yes.
think
Are you denying that it's bad that Luna suffered because racists sent racist vitriol at her? Is that
I'm
good
asking
or bad?
you your position. Why was it
I would
bad?
say it's definitely bad.
He just fucking answer a single question
of white supremacism, which oppresses billions of people around the planet.
Why is that bad?
It is bad because we should seek to liberate all of humanity from oppression. So the main so the main point of Marx and Engels is
Vaush, you're just so deep.
You realize that the main point of dialectical materialism and historical materialism is to free humanity from all class antagonisms so that we can finally begin writing history ourselves. That's basically the way that they put it. So that
why did they think that was worth doing?
The worst Nietzschean edgelord out there.
Because throughout modern history, or throughout history since class antagonisms arose, let's put it that way, human beings have been driven forward by oppressive relations with the means of production. and that limits humans, and it causes a lot of suffering. And it is.
I understand these terms. You already said suffering can be good or bad. Limiting? What makes these things bad? I
Okay,
don't understand.
limiting oppression, giving people the ability to develop their own material conditions and to have the freedom to do what they want.
Sucks. I don't have the thumbnail.
That's
I thought
what they
I
talk
did.
about in socialism.
Why should
utopian
people
and
have
scientific.
freedom?
It morphed.
Should
It turned
people have
into
freedom
Destiny.
forever?
Vaush, freedom to
Gotta
live,
catch the
to
thumbnails
live.
before they morph.
You're
It
being
would be nice to
intentionally
have an
obtuse here.
ethical system you could apply to answer these questions.
No,
right?
okay. A person has the right.
Well, no,
This is okay.
he's just
let's
asking
go back
EJ
to
to
material
like
conditions,
define
right?
ethics is
If
what
you're
he's
being
trying to do,
oppressed,
and
right? If you're being oppressed and somebody is,
but he's not
forcing
specifying that
you
this is a like
to
rhetorical.
work for them as a slave or
question
a
like
wage
that.
earner or whatever.
Yeah,
that
he's
is
just
any
being
form of
obtuse,
exploitation.
unnecessarily.
Okay. What is bad?
Isn't that their freedom?
Excuse me.
Isn't that their freedom?
Isn't
You're
that
talking
their
about
freedom?
restricting the freedom of people to do unto others what they will.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. You're saying
No,
that you
I'm
don't
not.
like it when people exercise their freedom to oppress others.
Okay,
You said you valued freedom.
Vaush.
Mhm.
Listen. The fact of the matter is that Marx and Engels believed that exploitation through class antagonism.
Oh, here
is
we
not
go.
bad. Do you agree or disagree with that?
We're talking about what I agree. I think I'm a Marxist, at least in some respects.
Okay.
But I have an ethical system that informs the reasons why I feel Marxism is worth following.
And what is that?
Rule utilitarianism. Or I guess some people say you can fold that into act utilitarianism. So let's just say utilitarianism. Fine.
But but there's no. Okay.
This isn't a matter of idealism. It's a matter of understanding why we fight for what we fight for. What you're arguing for is intuitive morality, which is exactly what leads to every goddamn pogrom and mass slaughter that's ever happened throughout history. When people post hoc justify what's right or wrong, only the construction of and adherence to moral systems that you can understand can prevent that kind of stuff from happening. And it's why I'm hammering on it right now. I don't like it when you're laughing like, oh,
The
hypotheticals,
material
oh,
conditions will
thinking,
dictate what's acceptable or not. If and the only way to
what does that mean?
we have okay.
Like, why are you against the concept? Do you think you're smarter than like all of like ethics, like the whole philosophy?
No, but my
like,
ethics are
Answering
grounded-
him,
so it's like
he
the
will
most
never answer
complicated-
you.
Okay. If you are, I don't know how to explain this to you. Like you have to look at history, right? That's one way that's one way to look at it. So whenever people have been enslaved, if they rise up and use violence to liberate themselves, then that is probably acceptable because they had material conditions in which violence was being okay. So
like the Nazis?
rising up against the Nazis was acceptable. Yes, for instance, the French Resistance.
After World War I, the Nazis claimed that Jewish bankers were holding the country down,
And that was
through
false consciousness because that
economic
wasn't actually
exploitation.
happening. That was false
How can you
consciousness.
tell?
They constructed a moral utilitarian rule that did not align with reality, and that's what led them down.
They
that
were not
fucking horrible
utilitarian.
path.
Wait, the Nazis were not utilitarian. Careful with that.
Okay.
They were very, very not utilitarian.
The point is that they
Um,
were their ideology was not aligned with reality
How can you tell?
because Jews don't actually control banks in the world.
There was a disproportionate number of Jewish control of banks in Germany.
Oh
Gosh,
my
thank you.
God.
Goodbye. This is that's all I need to hear. Thanks. All right, I'm done. That was insane. Okay. Sorry, folks. I can't
Okay.
even I can't go down that road. I'm sorry.
You know what? I respect that.
I don't even know what to tell you.
Better you than me, EJ.
That's enough.
Good job, EJ, on that one.
I had to cut that short. I apologize.
This is the
sorry.
start
I don't
of
know.
some drama because Vaush is going to be burned by that,
What do you think?
right? That's a thing that Vaush would do to somebody
Did
else,
you hear
though.
that?
Like, yeah,
100%.
he was trying to say that, like, I mean, like Vaush was
Maybe the Nazis had a point.
Nazi has a point. Yes, exactly.
it's not what he was trying to
I
say.
guess we just run away.
But
Yeah,
because of
whenever I
the
start
nature of
realizing that the person I'm
hypotheticals,
talking to
because of the
is-
bad
is
habits of
defending
debate
Nazi
bros,
points
that's
for
where he ended
anti-Semitism,
up.
That's when I run away. Yeah, I don't want to talk to that person.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry if anyone's disappointed. I'm not continuing that conversation.
This is
Nothing
like
was
the
coming out of it.
Mr.
Nothing
Girl
good was
thing,
coming out
but
of it.
instead of, oh my god, it's EJ in Vaush's role, and
I think
Vaush
you
and
totally let him control the
well,
debate, so you
also
have a
there
point.
was like, oh my god,
No, he would not
and
understand what
EJ wasn't
material
trying to
condition-
talk about
All right,
the
here's what he did not understand.
Child
would not
stuff.
recognize because he doesn't understand dialectical materialism. The material conditions are what dictate what
Yeah,
is
no,
or
Vaush
isn't
had that up himself,
morally
which was
permissible
really
in a given
strange.
situation. And there's no way to predict ahead of time what.
yeah,
will
and
be
that's generally
morally
something like
appropriate,
Tim Pool doesn't do that
and-
shit.
and that's
Tim
just the
Pool
fact,
has
okay? So, for
accusations.
instance,
Tim Pool answers those accusations
It's
on
simple.
a
It's
separate
very
channel, right? Like he's
Whether or
got
not
a,
it's
a
acceptable to
second
kill
channel
someone will
for
depend on
that.
a huge
He doesn't
number of
put it on
factors
his main channel, and the reason
that
not
mutually
not
impact
is
each other.
because he would be literally platforming
I ran
anti-Tim
away
Pool
because he started
stuff,
to say
right?
That, oh, maybe the Nazis had
and
a
that's what
point.
Vaush just did to himself. He just
I'm not gonna
platformed the
entertain
pedo
that.
scandal
I'm not going to entertain that.
on his own.
Vaush, there's just it's just
Kind of a
not
rookie
true that
mistake.
Jewish people control or controlled the banking system and shit like
Yeah,
that.
because I just
Okay,
revealed
okay.
the whole thing to people who might
So-
not know it.
But-
Boss is watching this in his live stream.
He was trying to make. I think he was trying to make the point that like, okay, so like it's okay against Nazis, but like, why is that okay? It's okay because the Nazis believed that they were attacked. The Nazis believed that they had grievances, that they were, defending the fatherland or some shit like that, right? So, why is that not all right for the Nazis to do that? And it's like, noncompete was like, well, the Nazis were wrong, well, then Vaush goes to there are, more bankers than there are, like, right? And I think Vaush knows that there's like a historic, to any disproportionate representation that there is, it's due to historical fact that it has a lot more to do with the oppression of the Jewish people than it does some kind of entitlement or secret control or anything like that, right? But he's trying to play off the fact that some people might be led to believe that that was a defensive action. So what justifies that from like an action that actually is defensible, which I think Vaush has a concept of. And I think what he was trying to do is walk down like a road talking about this kind of like, interrogating the nature of ethics. They kind of flipped spots, right? Because at first, like, Vaush was talking about idealism, and I think he meant not the type of idealism that Marx and Engels were talking about, right? But then he goes into this whole thing of like an exploration of ethics, right? And EJ's like just answering the questions like a normal human being at that point, right? Like not like a philosophy, student, right? It's just, and then like Vaush, kind of like that's oh my god. Like, it's one of the worst parts, I think, of philosophy departments is that the worst and best parts, right? They're willing to talk about stuff just like whatever's the input, right? Like, there's philosophers that will talk about the ethics of vegetarianism and conclude that it is like the only ethical system and then go eat a hamburger, right? They're like, it's a mental exercise in a lot of ways, right? And I mean, I guess that can be useful, and I understand the reason for, hypotheticals, I guess, but what happens when you get into like let's say there was aliens, okay? And these aliens were like, you got to do this or else we're going to kill it's a just so. When a hypothetical becomes a just so, when you have to like tweak it in there to create this hypothetical, theoretically there could be a situation in which Majin Buu comes to the Earth. He starts turning people into candy. Vegeta and Goku are out of commission. You are Gohan. What are you gonna do, right? And it's just like that is so. How do we get to Dragon Ball Z? How did we get to Dragon Ball Z? Like, and it's just, you just like, you feel like if you're listening to this like a human being, it's very frustrating, right? Now, to Vaush's audience, they're going to think that EJ was like, not engaging and he wasn't talking in good faith and he was looking for a gotcha. And that's why it's going to start drama. When they feel like they've been treated unfairly, in other words, when their own fucking tactics are used against them, they tend to not let go of it. So Vaush didn't exactly take home a W today. And that's a problem. whenever you get one of these debate bros in the situation where they're not taking home the W, they are going to come back and they're going to try to win the news cycle. And that's what I predict will happen. Vaush is not going to let this go. This is going to continue on, especially the stuff about like they're going to act like EJ was trying to set Vaush up on the pedo thing. When it's like, if anybody set Vaush up on the pedo thing, it was Vaush. EJ didn't want to talk about that. Like, EJ feels somewhat dirty even being in that discussion. And then when it got to this question of like, you know, like defending non-anti-Semitism, it's just like, no, I'm done. And legit, like, I mean, I guess that did end up being an own against Vaush. I don't think you can conclude, though, that it was intended to be. There's a legitimate claim that EJ was just kind of yucked out by the conversation. And, you know, it's your right to be. Debate bros have an entitlement to, you know, your time, to, you know, present you with what they want. They kind of just like, they kind of just take over. And that's what people don't like about debate bros, right? They're entitled, they're assholes, they don't give you a space to talk. Speaking of which, I've been dominating this conversation. Any thoughts on this?
I think you just hit the nail on the head, honestly.